What's up, everybody? This is Edward back with another video. Basically, I want to give my reaction, because this is a reaction to Rashida Schrober's hour-long video. Shout out to O'Shea Jackson, basically talking about colorism, dark skinism, and the thing, and her claim and her point that people are hijacking her dark skinism movement. You know, I gotta tell you, listen to Rashida is fucking tiring as hell. It really is. Shout out to Cocaine Kells. She was talking about, people, vampires that drain your energy. And I swear to God, listening to that video is a perfect example of that. Here's my thing, and this is going to be an all around colorism video, but it is going to be something I'm going to address. I don't want to say I'm of two minds of it because I lean one way. Here's the thing. Plagiarism, nobody likes somebody that plagiarizes. But at the same time, when you're dealing with social movements, it's different than when you're dealing with capitalism. The goal of a social movement is to basically get the maximum promotion and the maximum engagement and exposure that you can get. You have to understand that somebody like a Lupita Nyong'o or an a Marilyn Negra or even other social media personalities that have more exposure than you, they are going to create a wider net based on the platforms that they already have. So I heard a couple of things, and to be fair, I jumped in and out. But I heard number one is light skinned women and brown skinned women, like your Jamela Lemieux and shit like that, that are basically plagiarizing. Then it's other dark skinned women that have the same experience that maybe Rashida has had, maybe in the entertainment industry has experienced this, or maybe because we're not even going to talk yet about just colorism on gate. We're not even gonna have that conversation yet. I'm just gonna talk about just straight to her points. Kelly Rowland, that maybe had experienced the same colorism in the industry in the lane that they are in, because they're talking about their own lane. Hold on one second. Shit. Hold on one second. All right, yeah, it's gonna be out there talking. So anyway, they're talking about colorism that they've experienced in their own lane, in their own situation, right? And again, this is a situation. Well, I'll get into that in a second about the narrow-minded view, the way that people talk about this. But again, um, it it speaks to a lot. It's narcissistic as fuck, and I'm just gonna say it just like that. It's the same thing that Dr. Umar tries to do, where he's like, "I'm the king of this shit," and I'm gonna tell you something. If people, it's Dr. Clark. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Dr. Clark Anderson was really probably one of the original dudes really focusing on group economics, right? Yeah, you never hear Dr. Clark Anderson really ever address saying Boyce Watkins needs to pay homage. I mean, to a certain extent he does. Jason Black, to a certain extent he does, although there's other people he talks about as well. But his goal is to get black people practicing group economics. And he's willing to push the issue, do the legal work, spend the money, do the contribute. But his goal is to get black people in a critical awareness to actually see his life work, or one of his life's work actually fulfilled. He cares more about that than he cares about the quote unquote credibility of it. Right? And Dr. Clark Anderson is a man that's made a lot of money, and he's had a lot of accomplishment. And when I look at Rashida, yeah, she's accomplished some things. I'm not going to say she hasn't. But it's still this validation bullshit that she clearly does not have. Clearly she didn't find in her marriage. Clearly she's probably not finding it. As much as she wants to big it up, deep down she ain't finding it with the whatever dude she with. It's very obvious when women are not content. And part of that is not necessarily who they're with. Part of that is they suffer from this Chinese finger trap situation that basically splits them in fucking half emotionally and psychologically, that a lot of black women suffer from this, because you even got Jamila Lemieux talking this shit. You even got Crystal Carrington on this shit, even though she's with a white man. That a lot of capitalism and materialism creates in the psychology of a female. And I'm not trying to psychoanalyze anybody, but you can tell motherfuckers that when you look at it from a happiness standpoint, that you can tell people that at the end of the day, they're just not going to be happy because they're just not going to address the things that actually don't make them happy. So what they do is they pour a lot of energy into other things. This is what a lot of people think black men are doing when we talk about black women. They fun. This is how I know that a lot of that shit is projecting. Because this is how they think, so they assume we're doing the same thing, and this is why they always come up with, you're complaining, you're doing this, where's the solution, where is that? Because at the end of the day, the only person that's accountable to your own happiness is you. So now it's this, well, everybody's stealing dark skin from me, as if this pain is something that she trademarks. And and when you really listen to it, it sounds fucking insane. It really does. And I mean, you know, I'm sorry to say it that way, but it really does. These people, like, look, I don't like Chrissy. I used to listen to Chrissy before, and now she's on some fuck black men shit like a lot of these females get to. And at the end of the day, they think they have a right to be on some fuck black men shit, but actually think black men are gonna fuck with them. As much as I say talk shit when it comes to black women, I talk about really what black women do and how that affects their own outcomes. Basically stating they're accountable to their outcomes. The shit that they want to say people did to them, they reinforce that at some point, and that's what it is to be an adult. But I'm not on some, and by the way, the difference with black men and black women is black women are looking for black men to do shit for them. Black men are really looking for black women to cooperate to get this shit done for them. So it's a completely different thing. It's not the same shit. But anyway, Chrissy did not want to show her face. Maybe, if to be fair, because she thought that focusing on how she looks would fuck her up. Maybe she didn't think she fulfilled what she needed to fulfill. I don't know. Maybe it's for privacy purposes. I don't know. But she made the decision to not show her face. So only thing you could go with is what she is saying and what her and how she sounds. And even if you were to remove Rashida Schrober's face from the equation, not saying she's ugly, but I'm just saying remove the visuals and you just listen to her. What the fuck? You would get the same vibe that you get when you see her. The vibe of somebody that's borderline psycho. Maybe that she got that way because colorism fucked her up when she was younger. Maybe that's true. But at the end of the day, she does kind of a similar thing that Carrington does, where she spreads her neurotic and psychotic energy like a fucking virus in the form of a movement. And it's funny because people will say that people that are quote unquote red pill are radicalizing black men to hate black women, which no, we're just basically showing black men this is the context by which why people do what they do. And it's not some fucking one-off that you should just let go. You should really protect yourself and put yourself in a position to where you can minimize the ability for that to happen. Now, if that fucks up somebody's ability to get over on you, then it just does. But most people are not out here really saying you should hate black women off the gate. What they're saying is you need to stop deifying black women and stop giving black women a benefit of the fucking doubt, like a fucking black credit card, to where they got a right to just hit you, and then they can just blame it on what society did it to them. But you don't got no right to do nothing to nobody. You just got to deal with it. That's pretty much what Red Pill is really talking about when it comes to black men. Put yourself first. But in actuality, what a lot of these people will do is they basically say it's funny because we keep talking about the self-improvement argument, but this is the opposite end of that. You know, women will focus on this and then not focus on other things they need to focus on. Rashida has been married, so she can't say colorism kept her from finding a husband. Rashida has a boyfriend that is light-skinned, so she can't say, and it's very well known that a lot of light-skinned dudes will date dark-skinned sisters. You can't say the color, you can't really say that. And and so I'm not one to say colorism doesn't exist. But what I will say is, like how black men will use white supremacy as an excuse to build themselves up economically, a lot of black women, and it doesn't matter if they're as dark as Rashida. I've heard black women as light as Jamila Lemieux or lighter than K. Michelle use the same argument. And this is actually what Rashida was trying to speak to. But the thing about it is, colorism has been talked about. The only thing I've heard new from Rashida is darkism. But colorism is something that's been, and really darkism is just this little, it's the same shit. It really is at the end of the day. But it's been talked about way longer. This stuff, I mean, BGS has books about daughters of the trade. You got women in Nigeria, women not just in Nigeria, but in Africa, bleaching their skin. Hell, a lot of your black female celebrities bleach their skin low key. Rihanna, cough, cough, and there's others. Nikki, some of your biggest ones do it. But what happens is she's upset essentially because she thinks she's not big enough that she should be. She's not on TV. She's not doing that. And at the end of the day, you're not owed shit. This is an entitlement thing. She said it herself. She said these other people have bigger marketing, either platforms, things behind them, or they have better marketing ability. Well, my thing is, it doesn't matter if you think you're the baddest person. Umar Johnson thought that too. But guess what? Umar Johnson had a hard time raising money. And a big part of that was because he has a lot of narcissism in him. Where he don't want to ask nobody for help because he thinks he's just that nigga. But it creates a lot of jealousy in other dudes, even in the pro-black community, the Hotep pro-black community, to the point where he beefing everybody. And it's kind of like one thing, Rashida is clearly somebody that can't really like take a step back and really ask. I bet you she's never asked herself in the mirror, am I full of shit? Am I taking this shit? And really honestly looked. She's the type of person, if she sat there with a psychologist and they told her about herself, she probably cussed that bitch out because she just can't handle any kind of criticism. And it's very obvious when you see it. So my thing is, real talk, when it comes to social movements, I'm not saying it's right, but the reality is you ain't gonna do shit. The reality of the situation is think of the narcissism it takes. What do you think you really gonna say when it comes to Lupita? Like, what would, like, with her fan, like, are you serious? Like, you would need probably like 2 or 3 million subscribers at least. And then you would kind of be crazy even at that point, but at least to make some noise in social media. But you really think that somebody that everybody knows, including this pretty kind of well-known with white people to a certain extent too, and by the way, Lupita is talking about colorism from her perspective. She's not talking about colorism from an ADOS perspective. She talks about colorism from this liberal intersectionality bullshit, just like Janelle Monáe, to basically say, these are black women's grievances and these are our grievances separate from black men. She does not give a fuck, quite frankly, in my opinion, about ADOS black women. She don't give a fuck about you. She don't give a fuck about the people, even the black girls and dark-skinned boys, to the extent that you care about them, that you give a fuck. She's using that as kind of like this social justice warrior. This is her little plant of the social justice warrior flag to fit in with the liberal narrative that they want to fit in, which is basically misandrous in nature. Not saying that colorism in itself is just straight misandry, but it fits into that mold, that one more cut that you can say black men harm me. And quite frankly, you agree with it because you keep on saying, because I know what code you're saying, because you don't go out of your way really to say black women do this. You keep it black men. And you understand that most in the black society, we default to blaming black men for everything. So they're not, unless you specifically say black females, they're going to assume it was black boys doing that to you. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But that's why it comes off as misandrous. And you know that. You're smart enough to understand that. So you keep it out there. And because this is really designed to shame black men into dating dark-skinned women. And here's the thing that never gets talked about. We also got to talk about which men are we talking about. Rashida is not talking about all men. I'm 5'5". She's not talking about me. She's talking about the quote-unquote to a black female. She's talking about the quote-unquote, from her standard, the select men Yeah, I don't like Lapita. I clearly outlined that. Yeah. I mean I don't have an issue with Lapita, but the Asian shit, I mean, based on what I said, you all should clearly understand that I understand that. But I'm giving this in deeper context because I'm getting it's multiple like parallels that are running in an individual situation. Anyway, my point is they don't have the same goal. And my point is going back to the look thing. She's talking about the top. Look, 14% of black men are over 6 feet. Like she's talking about the top 20. And when I say top 20, I'm not saying that like I'm not a part of anything like that. I'm just saying for what these women want, the top 20% of dudes that these women want, whichever particular woman that is, whatever that aesthetic is, that's who she's talking about. Because remember what she said when dudes get on and they get like a light skinned mulatto chick. She's talking about your Robert Smiths. And BGS has said multiple times they have a certain look that they want. Like your not masters of the universe, but like your guys that are educated. And BGS goes by on no means it says that. They want a certain look and they stick to that look. But see, the question never becomes how can I compete? How can dark skinned women compete and outdo the light skinned women in form of being more feminine woman, being more submissive? It's never that question. It's always, well, how can we make these guys do what we want? This is what the truth is. You can't. This is the conundrum with a lot of black women. When it comes to guys that they are, let's call these sexually select guys, right? The guys that are quote unquote sexually select because, and I'm not saying Rashida is absolutely in this category because like I said, she has been married. So I'll give her credit for that. But what I'm saying is in general, and this is true even for dark-skinned women, they cede all their, for the most part, when I say power, their power to negotiate. Because if a guy passes her sexual test, then basically she's down. And she's not going to make this guy do anything because quite frankly, that's what she wants. And guys that know that can recognize that. And when they can recognize that, they have all the leverage. And a lot of what these women get mad about, this is what K. Michelle was talking about, even though she's not dark skinned. K. Michelle was talking about, they take advantage of a woman's love, which is code for, I know you like me, so I own you, bitch. For the time we written this car, I own, if you see the car, I own you, and I don't give a fuck about dinging this shit up. But that's because these women don't want to walk away. When they get a hold of a dude that they want, they're willing to do anything and they expect. It's like a dude that's like a 6 or a 7 getting a hold of a chick that's like a 9 or like a natural 8 that can upgrade into like a 9 or a 10. Dude's gonna simp out. He's gonna simp like a motherfucker. And what happens is these women do the same shit. It was the same thing with Jesse Williams and that other chick, also not a dark-skinned chick, where she balked the nigga. But see, that conflicts with their female biology, so that creates a lot of issues and resentment there, especially if you haven't like come to accept who the fuck you are. And that's something that Jada Black said. He said a lot of these women don't know who the fuck they are, so they operate in this kind of like gray zone, and the brain doesn't like to operate in uncertainty. So it creates madness because the brain is actually trying to find something to latch onto, and this is where the colorism shit comes from. It really is where it is. It's this thing that you can just point to and that's it. You don't got to think too deep about it. They don't like me because I'm dark. End of. So all the inconvenient details of maybe I act like a psycho. Maybe my social skills are completely fucked up. None of that matters. None of that matters. And so it becomes, well, these men, the problem is these men don't want me. They don't have to want you. And I've said this on that flip side. Women can choose whatever the fuck they want to choose. They don't have to want men. But guess what? There's a difference between not wanting men and then trying to come back later on after you've gotten buyer's remorse and then thinking you're supposed to be saved. Though that's the thing that I talk about in the flip side. But in the reverse, it's the same thing with these dudes. These dudes don't got to pick you. And women want to hold on to color. This is how I know a lot of that's bullshit because no matter what shade, unless you're dealing with a light, bright, white black woman or a mixed chick, they're going to use colorism. I've seen Jamila Lemieux is light skin, and they always use it because that's a typical shit. Now, some people have a greater grievance to it than others, but at the same time, a lot of the colorism shit comes from the collective fucked up reputation of black women too. And that shit slides downhill, quote to speak. And I guess dark-skinned women suffer the most for that. But the reality is that's still a collective attitude. I will say this, because people will always say, where's the solutions? I always complain, and there's no fucking solutions. I'm going to keep it real with you. A Maryland, and I've said this before on this platform, to the point where people think I'm upset. I'm not obsessed. I'm just saying. A Maryland Negra, I don't give a fuck if she's ADOS, not ADOS. Technically, she was born in Miami, although she's first generation. A Maryland Negra is pretty much the fucking template. SWP used to talk about this when we used to go back and forth for Chrissy. Really giving Chrissy a lot of credibility that she want to act like, you know, she had already, but whatever the fuck. And even though I'm applying a Maryland Negra to this, but I'm merging that with what Sergeant Willie Pete used to say. And this situation, this is actually, you know, I guess he's gone now as far as YouTube, but this is some of the stuff he used to actually be spot on about. This is one of the lanes he actually occupied that was, he really knew had a handle on it. But a Maryland Negra should be, and the reason why I say this, I look at this like an internet marketer, like a marketer. You want to look for what I call an avatar or a demographic. Lupita would not, let's keep this all the way to fuck real. Lupita is not a aesthetically ugly woman. You know, she has the what you call it, she has that, like what you typically see these black models, like men, and quite frankly for most Caribbean black men, Lupita is not one. She does not have the body type. She doesn't. That like extra thin, bony Iman look black men do not like. That's why if I see her dating a white guy, I'm not too mad, because that's what the white boys like. Bria Miles, I'm not saying they want a chick as big as Bria Miles, but Bria Miles is a lot more closer to what black men in America would want than Lupita is. Lupita has an African build versus Bria has more of an African American woman aesthetically built, even though it'd be a couple of shades higher than that as far as the look. But as far as white, so my point is, a Maryland Negra is much more of a typical avatar of what black men would want based on her body type than what Lupita Nyong'o is. And in fact, a lot of people would choose, even in the face alone, a Maryland Negra over Lupita Nyong'o. So my point is, when you look at an avatar, Lupita wouldn't be it. Because for a variety of reasons, that's not what black men really want. A Maryland Negra, and I'm looking, this is all averages. Everybody has their unique taste. But I'm saying if you have to amalgamize it into one avatar that things can split off from, that's what would be it. And not only that, when you actually look at, I'm talking about for a dark-skinned woman. Now, if you look at, and by the way, I would probably put Kelly Rowland actually above her, but Kelly too. But I'm just talking about something that's reachable. Because you may not have the face, but you can have the body type. You can live weight to get the body type. Anyway, my point is, when you look at personality, outside of a Maryland Negra always acting, trying to be extra Hispanic all the fucking time, when she turns that shit down, a lot of her kind of vivaciousness, like it's vivacious, but it's not attitude. It's a little bit assertive, but it still has a feminine disposition. That's what a lot of black women need to aim for. If they really want to maximize their capacity to get the dudes they want. And that's the collective reputation they should want to aim to have. But instead, black women basically run to this extra masculine, I don't need no man independent shit, and they become on the outer edge of that. So all women are basically judged as less than that on the independent scale versus they're the most. And they don't understand that even if they don't want to date black men, that fucks them up. This is why they're seen as just sex only, but not long-term relationship. Not just by white men, Arab men, all Hispanic men, all men. And that's why it is like that. That's why it's like that. And you don't even gotta, this is why these women will get mad and say the manosphere is the reason these men think that, which is psycho. It's psycho, because they know that's not true. Because way before the manosphere, white men have been treating them like this. But it's not about really accountability or logic. So from a marketing standpoint, you say, okay, what's a good image to say, okay, you need to study this person and be like this person, and you'll probably get better results. Well, how do you emulate success? Now, everybody always tells me, well, a Maryland Negra low-key likes to fuck white men. Here's the thing. This is not me talking about it from a pro-black standpoint. This is me talking about a woman operating in such a way that creates the outcome she wants, whether that's with black men or not, whether that's with black men or not with black men. It's about femininity. It's not about, well, what, pick a bitch that's gonna be with black men and extra loyal to black men and feed your ego. Obviously, that's what I would want, but that's not what I'm talking about, because that's not what they're talking about. They're not mad. They're mad that they don't have this, that their womb is not as valuable as other wombs in this society. So I'm speaking to that issue. Now, I'm more than confident that black men can compete for that. Now, if they want to get with white men, then they let them. And they're going to get what they get with what they get with that. And that's on them. Maybe they'll win. Maybe they'll wind up like Eve. Doubt it. Maybe they'll wind up like Stacey Dash, looking goofy as fuck, which is usually what happens. Shout out to Aisha Tyler. Shout out to the long list of females that have chased that nut. But they can chase that nut. What I'm saying is what affects their greatest outcome. And that's the one thing people always like say, oh, she's such a fucking white man. I'm like, y'all getting away from the fucking point. The point is, what is a good barometer for them to aim for? That's what I'm saying. And these women act like that we can't tell the difference. They act like we see dark and we shut down. That's not true. And they know that's not true. But they think she know that ain't true. Because how did she find she got a husband? A lot of dark-skinned women I know of. Hell, look, some of the most attractive women I know are dark-skinned that are married. And that are still married. 2 black men. Some of them are lighter. Some of them are close to the same complexion. But they had to pick. I know women that made dudes wait. They made dudes earn that marriage. And then they were smart and they cashed out like, in like 26, 27. But they were dating people in like their early 20s. I know that. So like a lot of that shit people say, and they come from family of females that can get dudes. Like I get that, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat that. But again, it's too much. Oh, I'm like, think about how she was at it. I'm real with this shit, motherfucker. Da. I'm like, bitch, you sound worse than Umar. Like seriously. And Umar sounded goofy saying that stupid shit. Like, well, you talking to black people. I don't know where it is with black people. They think they got to get extra niggified when they talking to other black people. Like, that's how you know they for real with it. And I'm like, come on. That's some kind of projection of power or some shit. Like, no, that makes you look goofy as fuck. Because it makes it sound like, unless I automatically know you're an effective person in whatever thing we're trying to talk about, it makes it me not want to take you seriously. Because it says, okay, that means you're basic as hell. And people don't realize that. I'm like, fuck. But anyway, yeah, like that's, and going back to SWP, and then I'll go into y'all comments. Going back to SWP, that's what you just say. Because the one thing that black women don't want to do, and this actually goes back to black women feeling like they shouldn't have to compete for their men because they feel like they own their men, and that's a part of disposition of disrespect that creates the feedback loop that they get, is you are supposed to indoctrinate these boys early to one. If you actually say, okay, the goal is to increase, what did she say? She said the goal is to get balance. Okay, how do you do that? You tell me. Now she's going to come up with some bullshit that really amalgamates to shaming black men, awareness and shaming. This is what happens. This is why you're bad that you allowed to happen. To solve it, you need to get with me. Problem. Number one, that never addresses anything the females are doing. That's code for take me as I am. And you need to like it with the same fucking gynocentric bullshit that all black women are on for the most part. And number two, that other groups of men are not going to give a fuck about that at all. They're just going to slam the door in your fucking face, or they're going to be coy like white people do and smile and use that for their own wills. Versus if your real goal is to do that, the way you go about it is you need to indoctrinate these boys to like dark skin. So we know how boys mature, puberty, so a lot of that who boys actually are attracted to is formed in that time. Even though it's a little bit less, it's in that time frame. So you should be wanting to put out as much dark skin beauty, the best looking dark skin females, fat asses, nice faces, bathing suits, happy, feminine. I'm not the first person to say this. SWP said this. But it's common fucking sense. But I'm saying where I got it from. And he used to talk about this a lot. But black women don't want to do that. See, Chrissy used to argue against that. She would agree with it, but she always had this thing that black women, black men really are not deserving of that. She kind of fundamentally feels like black men, like a lot of black women, that black men are fundamentally not deserving of a feminine woman. So by the time they get and they try to go for dudes they want, they don't know how to fucking act. So they don't know how to navigate black male fuckery to the extent that it exists. So they just come back to their own basic conclusions that niggas ain't shit. They can't get out of that loop. And that's their problem. Now, when they get in front of a white boy, they just naturally dissipate it because they don't have that resentment, which is ironic. These will be the very females that'll say, why are you dating these white bitches that birthed the men that quote unquote raped us, but they don't never clue to that shit when it comes to dating those guys themselves. Because it's all bullshit. It all comes back to females trying to do what they perceive is in their best interest, and they will lie and manipulate and do. They feel like anything is acceptable to get what their outcome is. This is why I tell you a lot of chicks have no honor. They have no sense of honor, and if they do, they get that from a dude. Because it's been gone. The women that would have passed any type of that shit down are gone for the most part. So it's all about, I'm going to do what's in my best interest, fuck anything. And this is how you know we don't really have a community or have a group. Because we don't have a social contract. There is no, well, I need to be what I need to be to get these expectations. It's that I'm just born with wanting these expectations. And then it's something wrong with society when society doesn't give me these expectations because it's independent and strong and whatever powerful, and these fucking words that don't mean shit when they say it. They still expect shit to be. How can you think you're strong and independent, but you still think shit is supposed to be given to you? So again, when it comes to Rashida, is in conclusion, it's like, look, you said it yourself. You don't know how to market. Well, that's a fucking clue right there. Maybe you need to go to some conferences and market. Maybe you need to actually lean on dudes that know how to do that shit, or dudes that actually are empathetic to what you're talking about that can help you. But if you want to play this game like Umar plays, then you're just going to get the results you're going to get. Because at the end of the day, people can turn your ass off. And quite frankly, she has a very repulsive, and when I say repulsive, I don't mean that in a trying to say she's ugly, but I mean she repels people with the way she acts. She does not really elicit sympathy with people. She really elicits, okay, this bitch is psycho. And I say it just like that because that's how the mindset. And she can get mad about that all day. If you look at, I remember when Chrissy used to try to play Paris to the extent that I peeked over there, talk about she was bigger than her. And then Paris passed her, at least on YouTube. Why? Because you could see Paris. And look, Paris talks a lot of shit about black men too. So these are not people that are like friends of black men, so to speak. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm sorry. You know, it is what it is, but you're not owed a platform. You're just not. You're going to have to compete and pursue happiness like everybody fucking else has to do in the United States. And the problem with Rashida more than anything is she has an entitlement issue. And then it's reinforced by her believing that she's right above everybody else because she thinks she's the best she's the biggest victim. And by the way, yes, you do have dark skin privilege because at the end of the day, you have a womb. And you live in a gynocracy in the black community. See, a dude, like, let me tell you something. I'm short. If I were to make a platform about black women and basically use height as that mechanism, do you understand how many people I would be laughed out of the room. I would be laughed out of, and by everybody, even people that fuck with me now. So why don't you flip that shit and then apply that to how she pursues dark-skinned women? We know these dark-skinned women get dick. We know they getting fucked. We know they having kids. So they ain't being ISO'd as much as they think they are. And by all standards, these women are getting roles. And all of them ain't ugly. Shout out to Anna Diop on Titans. You know, there is, like, so, you know, it is what it is. But like I said, that's the solution to the problem. You're going to have to indoctrinate the next generation of men, and good luck because the Z's are further along than the millennials. So if you can't get over that shit and realize that you're going to have to put some sex out there, you're gonna have to indoctrinate the minds of these guys to want dark skin, these up and coming generations. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're not willing to solve your problem, and nobody's willing to give a fuck, because you're never gonna terraform the society to go against a core tenet of what the society is built on, which is white supremacy. This isn't like the gay rights movement where you got a lot of white. At the end of the day, at the core of that, you got a lot of white dudes that are gay that didn't want to lose their white privilege. And they had enough privilege based on them hiding their gayness, which means they could be like hiding in plain sight the way they can still make money. Tim Cook, CEO of Apple, a lot of people. And then these companies are getting a little bit more liberal too. A lot of newer age companies, like your tech companies, are liberal. They're more liberal than the older companies, like the oil companies, the other companies that came up, which were more conservative. So don't think that every like movement has like a certain pathway that's going to get big. You don't have those same fundamentals on your side. You don't have nobody on your side. Your men, you've repelled. Other groups, they only going to push your shit to the point it benefits them. And now it's not. You really don't have those same things, so you have to be practical. So anyway, that's enough. I've pushed out a lot. What time is it? 36 minutes. Let me answer some of y'all stuff. Exactly, Greenford, right? She didn't care about the fives in the chat. Black women want validation from black men who are entertainers, athletes, and white stream media. They don't care about everyday brothers. They don't. And the question that I always ask, I would ask Rashida is, if you don't give a fuck about these guys, then why should they give a fuck about you? Because see, if you say that, if you say you're really looking for validation of the Chris Browns of the world, this is what I always say. Black women are cool with white supremacy. They just don't like their place in it. And Rashida, in my opinion, exemplifies that. What she tries to do is she tries to lean on the black community, because quite frankly, nobody would take her seriously if she really did try to reach that high. But at the end of the day, that's essentially what she's saying. And that's essentially how she feels. And that's not black men's problem. Black men have their own problem. That's her problem. That's what she's got to deal with. And quite frankly, that's between her and the white boys, really. Because those guys, she has no power and no leverage to control them. The only leverage that they have collectively as women is they can cancel black men. That's that cancel culture bullshit. And keeping it real, black men can be on the slick with that shit too, to a certain extent. And that shit only has a certain amount. Because like I said, when you look at dudes like Kyrie Irving and stuff like that, they don't need to give a fuck if they're basketball. So I mean, to a certain extent, that shit ain't gonna work. But that's where that cancel culture comes from. That's what happened with the dude with Shea Moisture. And this is why when people try to say, well, this stuff doesn't happen in real life, you can look at real life events and see how that manifests as a collective group and know that there's something there. I mean, people keep saying Rashida doesn't look bad. I'm not saying she does. Rashida just acts psycho. Yeah, Chrissy cried. They all do. Paris does too. That's what they care about. And black men do not need to give a fuck about how females feel about themselves. That's something that black women, especially the modern black woman that wants to be independent of black men, need to own. We don't owe them validation. That is not something we owe them. I would argue we don't owe them protection, but we damn sure don't owe them validation. And that's the thing that they don't want. Because at the end of the day, if it's really affecting you and harming you like that, then maybe you need to make a decision to move somewhere else. Like, you got motherfuckers in the West Coast bitching about the interracialism. Well, y'all not leaving? Maybe y'all need to go somewhere else where you're not going to see that. It's really that simple. Maybe you need to leave the country. It's really that serious. Because you all have no leverage to really make nobody care. This is why that whole group only spins on women, and it becomes a hustle. It becomes like a colorism church to leech on women. This is really where Rashida Schroeder is mad, because she's mad that the money hasn't just found her. Well, I'm like, this ain't like no thought shit. These are Nikes. It ain't new. I can believe K. Michelle bleached. I can believe that. That's her problem. Her problem is she's entitled. And Umar is a perfect example of that too. A perfect example is entitled. Well, I've listened to Rashida before. I mean, Rashida used to talk shit about Chrissy. I mean, she's talked shit about anybody talking about this. Because, see, for her, nobody's allowed to talk about colorism but her. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, at the end of the day. And I would say the same thing to anybody. Like I'm not the first person to talk about this shit. And yeah, I do tell y'all where I got shit from so you all could get it from them. But even if I didn't, like, I wouldn't give a fuck, because that type of concept is not, you can't trademark colorism. The fuck you talking about? You can't trademark darkism. You can't trademark a movement. The fuck you talking about? Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King were not the only ones in the civil rights movement. But see, this is the arrogance. And the sad thing is, black women, a lot of sisters, they can't even see how full of shit they really are. And it's actually insane when you think about it. Lapita, let's tell the truth. Lapita's upset that they gassed her up, and she don't. If it were, honestly, let's be fair. Let's be real. I'm not. Lapita is a decent. She can act. I'm not gonna act like she can. She can. But Lupita has been gaslit like a motherfucker. Lupita has been used like a prop, and she kind of knows it. And she's kind of mad, but she knows this is the only opportunity she got. If it wasn't for Disney, if it wasn't for Bob Iger, Ted Horn, and Disney putting her, like, think about it. Every movie, most movies Lupita has been in, other than that other movie she was just in with Jordan Peele, has been Disney. Other than that, you wouldn't hear her. She'd be this fucking sock puppet. And then she got paid off of Black Panther, because Black Panther made so much money. So even her small little 0.00%, she got a good check from that. So it's like she's just been a prop. She's been a prop really used. She's a non-ADOS prop that is basically used to be the token Negro. They don't even use a lot of African American tokens now. They got to be gay or they got to be non-ADOS. And when you actually look at the hierarchy in Hollywood, and not just in Hollywood, but in a lot of structures, you start to see these are not reflective of actually us. And these people are not, and here's the thing, it's not about, well, Lupita is not ADOS, so fuck her. No, she's not invested in the same things we are invested in. So therefore, those roles can go to other black women. What I'm thinking about is there's other dark-skinned black women that can get those roles. Now, I don't always think that way. Like Anna Diop, she plays Starfire in Titans, and I first saw her at 24, the new 24 that had the dude that played Dr. Dre in Straight Outta Compton. There's people that you can put in these roles that are going to be more invested, that are just as talented. Lupita is not the most talented black actress out there. There's plenty of black people that can do the roles that she's done. Plenty of black women that are dark-skinned that are ADOS. Like, straight the fuck up. And if she's not even going to put the effort, then, and she's going to talk about generic shit, then she don't need to be there. But real talk, Lupita, if it wasn't for Disney, Lupita would, like, 90% of all the roles she's got is Disney. It's a Disney company. So Disney is what's paying her. That's probably why she got Black Panther. Because she's a known name, and they knew they could kind of get away with it because she owed them that, because she gave them so much other roles. So at the end of the day, Lupita ain't really getting these roles like that. That's real fucking talk. She's a prop. And so her talk about that dark skin shit is just her basic. She knows there's a lot of energy there. And that's really why Rashida's mad. Because she's like, you're stealing my thunder. She's famous. She can do that. I mean, what do you think the fucking Kardashians did? They're not the first people to come up with fucking makeup. The fuck? And I'm not saying it's right, but what the fuck you really gonna do about it? Black women that still fuck with Lupita is still gonna fuck with Lupita. What she don't this is what Rashida don't understand. Rashida don't understand that by Lupita talking about colorism, if women search for dark colorism or dark skin, you usually go bring up Chrissy, Paris, or Rashida. So she really should kind of be low-key happy that she's doing that, because that creates more exposure, that drives more eyeballs to YouTube. And if Rashida was smart, maybe she's got a website, maybe she doesn't, she would harness all the keywords for colorism, so the credible work she's done as far as her plays and stuff can get seen. But see, she's not a marketer, so she would never think like that. And she's one of these, I'm an independent black woman that don't need no fucking help types. So she don't think about that shit. Even when there's other black women beating her at a thing that she can clearly recognize that these black women are winning because of this ability or because of this clout, she's still not smart enough to actually recognize that and apply that. She just falls back in her entitlement bullshit. Bria was built by Dr. Giroux. But that's what I'm saying though, man. Yeah, 757. So it's bullshit. But again, we know these women are talking about the top guys as far as economics of what they see on TV, which makes them fucking childish as fuck when you really think about it. Because they come over here and see, this is why in the manosphere, it's always seen as what we're talking about is really, oh, I can't get a bad bitch. I can't get a 10, 9, 8, and 7. That is not how black men think. That's how black women think. And they project that onto us. That's what that shit is. And a lot of dudes project that shit too. No, you just mad because you can't get a fine chick. So a lot of y'all niggas are delusional. It's well known in the black community. It's well known in the black community. That's how black women think. That is not how black men think. Black men are not out here doing all of that. I've dated many dark-skinned women. A lot of people low-key think that's what my preference is. I have a couple of types, but I don't really have preferences when it comes to like skin tone and stuff like that. I've dated light skin. I've dated dark skin. And I've dated more dark skin than light skin. But that doesn't matter because as dudes, we're sitting here trying to say, well, I do this. No, that's not what they care about. They care about what Chris Brown and Tyrese and them think. And that's a personal problem. That's not our issue. That's a personal problem. I mean, like, I understood the role. I understood why Lupita got it. I mean, the politics of Hollywood, you're established. It's a name. You know, you got to promote the stuff. She's already been in the circuit. She kind of has an in-house thing with Disney. I get it. I get all of that. You know, so it is what it is. But we just got to be smarter as a consumer base. We just do. Because really what we buy needs to get more political. And because that's just a whole different thing. You are starting to see more. I've noticed that when when I used to go through the mall, you are seeing more of that. But again, in like malls and shit. Again, man, motherfuckers will like. You got to understand that this is what you got. Once you realize it's never going to be enough for a lot of black women. It's never going to be enough. Ever. And I'm trying to think if I should even do a live stream right. I might do a live stream. But it's never really going to be. I'm trying to think, well, no, because I want to finish some stuff up. But it's never going to be enough. Yeah, it's very obvious. It's never going to be enough for a lot of these people. And they do a hell of a lot of projecting because you got to remember, in the community, it's seen as socially acceptable for black women to bitch. Say niggas ain't shit, niggas ain't shit, niggas ain't shit. But see, when dudes do the opposite, that's seen as you're being less than a man or whatever, it's because people are not used to that. They're used to dudes just dealing with it. They're not used, or dudes either not being there or just dealing with it. They're not actually used to hearing what a black man thinks. That's why it's seen as socially unacceptable in that sense. So, but the reality is man, please. What it takes for black men to actually be content on the law averages is not the same as what it takes for black women to be content. And I'm gonna keep it real with you. I feel sorry for a lot of them because they really are lost. A lot of them are really lost, man. They really, really are. They don't know. They cannot rise past their emotional bullshit, and most of them are not going to. It's really that simple. They're just going to feel their way through it, and that shit is not going to fucking work. It's just not. And it is what it is. And you know, people got their own shit to deal with. But Rashida is not even talking. You think about it, she's not even talking about colorism anymore. She's talking about some egotistical bullshit. She's talking about some, why am I not getting credit? I'm the king of this. I'm like queen or whatever bullshit. And you know, I saw some of the females in the chat, you know, they sitting there gassing her ass up. But I'm like, y'all not understanding that she's not even really talking about the issue at that point. She's talking about this quote unquote recognition, which kind of tells me, like I remember when Marilyn Negro was talking about her own experience as a quote unquote Afro Latina, about being told to date white guys by other like women that are like Hispanic, whether they're black or not. And that is unique to her. That's some shit that Rashida did not deal with, because that's something, because Hispanics can be on that shit hard, right? But then she was talking shit about Marilyn Negra. Now my thing is, I will argue a Marilyn Negra is far more valuable. If I'm somebody that cares about dark skinism, a Marilyn Negra is far more valuable. Well, I won't say far more valuable, but she has a value that, quite frankly, and what she's trying to do that Rashida is not trying to do. Amara is actually trying to attack that on a feminine level. Basically, this is my femininity. I'm putting that shit on the table. What? And I'm not going to compromise that. You know, I'm not gonna, you know, and maybe she will eventually. But my point is, that's what she's trying to do, and I see that as very admirable, especially tying that to her career. And I got a lot of respect for her for doing that, because that actually does help black girls. That is a feminine. I'm not trying to say she's the most feminine woman out there, but that is a clear feminine example that a lot of these women can look at and be like, okay, because Marilyn Negra is not a small. Well, she like, I've seen her with pictures with other sisters. Other women. She's bigger than these women. Like even with her bathing suit line. You know, that's what she's trying to do that's actually valuable. And let's be clear here, she ain't like ratchet as fuck. She's like from a modern context. So if you actually so this is how, when people come at me with the fucking solution shit, I'm like, you don't give a fuck about solutions, because if I show you a solution, you're gonna try to tell me why the fuck that solution ain't gonna work, even though I know the logic is sound. And I know why you're going to say it. I know why you're going to say it before you say it, because I know what the underlying culture issues is. Black women do not believe they should have to compete for their men, so they don't ever think about indoctrinating their boys with, like, even mothers don't ever think about that. They should think, well, I like black men, so you should like black women. That's how it should be. They only talk about the promotion when they see an outcome that they don't want. That is true. And I'm glad you reminded me something, Cut to the Chase. Cut to the Chase said, women that complain about colorism are just not select women. Okay. So one thing that she said, hold on, I don't want to lose it. Shit. Um shit, I've lost it. Hold on. I forget. It was something she said that stuck out. Um let me see. Let me see if I can remember it. Oh, 757 said it'd be like, compete for what? Yeah, compete for what? So what do you know, my answer to that, when they say compete for what, and I say, what the fuck are you, who you fucking complaining to then? If you say compete for what, then who you complaining to? Because my answer is compete for the motherfuckers you complaining about not getting. So what are you complaining about then? If it's compete for what? No, I already said that a lot of these women only care about the top like 15 to 10% of dudes, man. But it was something she said that kind of stuck out to me. But at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, yeah. That shit is projected over here. And again, I tell women, fuck with who fucks with you. Same thing with dudes. Fuck with who fucks with you. Fuck with who fucks with you. It's really that simple. You know, that should be like, that shouldn't even something that has to be talked about. But people want to talk about, and I've talked to women. I've been rejected by dark skinned women. And I mean, I'll be still cool with some of them. And they'll say they like, oh, they didn't like me because I'm light skinned or whatever. And it's like they like dark skinned guys with dreads and stuff like that. And that's fine. But the thing that's funny about that, because I've been told that a couple of times, is they assume that those guys are supposed to like them. They have this thing where I love my blackness. This is why I'm attracted to this type of guy. And they are supposed to see that reflected in them. So they get mad when they don't see that. And I see that a lot with Caribbean women too. And this is why they get mad. This is why they try to make it like a social movement. Because they say something is wrong with you based on your own preferences. And I'm like, but y'all don't ever say that to the same shit with these women. With these women, they just got to do what the fuck they got to do. And again, I point that out not to be tit for tat, but it's just, at the end of the day, a lot of that shit, a lot of black men this is a lot of that shit that activates a lot of that black male guilt bullshit. And black men don't need to be guilty over that shit. Because at the end of the day, man, a lot of these women, they're just using that colorism shit as a crutch. They really are. Let me see. Oh, 7/7 prime time. They always say that because it could never, because the reason why they say 7/7 prime time that it's black men's fault that they swirl is because they can't really, because they're guilty about it. That's what it is. They're guilty about it. So they have to come up with some emotional settling, emotionally, secure reason why they do what they do. This is why Karen and all of them like to constantly talk shit about black men as far as them being with a white person. And I'm gonna tell you something. I tell them white boys, some of them dudes, if they do, like, I don't go out of my way with saying that, but to the extent I've had these conversations with white dudes that date sisters, I tell them, I say, if you got a sister that's always talking about black men, or you catch them always talking about black men, they still fucking black men. If the right dude come along that they're sexually attracted to, they gonna want to mess with it a little bit. Oh, they gonna want to keep you, but they still gonna want to mess with them. And a lot of white boys really clue into that. This is kind of how you know. This is kind of how you know that a lot of black women that are really on that swirling shit, a lot of them either getting bottom shelf dudes, or they are lusting for white dudes. There's a difference between lusting. Independence Day. There's a difference between lusting for non-black dudes and actually getting one. Those are two different situations. And a lot of these females that talk this shit, they're using that as a straw person argument. I tell y'all, look at that. And by the way, because I'm about to end this video, y'all should check out Jason Black's The Business. I'm gonna put it on the community page. It's got a breakdown of the Stacey Dash situation. It's a really good video. And I'm actually gonna finish it. I'm about an hour and a half into it. So anyway. No, man, dude, no. Because white men, it's not even that black women are ugly, it's that white men are programmed a different type of way. What's up, Wilson? I'm the same way. I'd rather them just shut the fuck up. Rael, you're absolutely correct. You are absolutely spot the fuck on. The reason, and that just shows the fucking immaturity that a lot of these motherfuckers have. A lot of them they do date white men because they think it bothers us, because it bothers them. And this is why I keep saying, and I've heard Keith say this, I've heard other dudes say this, shout out to other dudes, you know, the promotion, the projection is real. Black women project like a motherfucker. A lot of y'all do not understand most of what black women say is a fucking projection. It is a goddamn projection. Straight the fuck up. They take how they feel and they assume like a lot of what they say is basically their own emotional self-expression projected. They assume the dudes feel the way they feel, and so therefore they project that shit onto us and then say we do this. This is why when you hear that stupid shit, to the extent that you do listen to colorism, motherfuckers, because I haven't in a long time, they say, ooh, you want pretty babies. Black men do not fuck women on wanting pretty babies. Black men don't think that way. Men do not think, oh, if I fuck this bitch, we gonna have pretty babies. Women think that way. But you got a lot of females that will literally say, oh, they do this because they want light eyes. I'm like, what dude have you ever seen that's ever stated that you fucking know? But they never think about that. Or if you name, or they're just brainwashed. They're brainwashed. Not really. A lot of black men fuck white women. A lot of them is because black women won't put it out. And that Becky was. It's because black women believe that if they don't want you, nobody wants you. Right? That's their mindset. If they don't want you, then they don't understand why. They don't understand. This is why, oh yeah, by the way, this is one last thing I want to say too. I want to put this out here. You know, she mentioned Kendrick Lamar. And I'm like, okay, you kind of filed for that because Kendrick Lamar stuck with the same chick that was down for him from jump. So basically, because she's light skinned, and keep in mind, he's out of the West Coast. And then you got to understand, so it's okay. Look, I normally am not going to I think it's too easy to come at Rashida about having a light skinned dude, because I'm like, at the end of the day, he's black. And if he's black, he claims black, you know, I'm not, the hip hop award's supposed to be on. Oh my God, that garbage bullshit. You notice how that shit ain't even getting promoted in social media? That's how fucking pathetic that shit has gotten. But anyway, it's like, that's too easy for me to come at her with that. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you that, because I'm not gonna be an asshole. But for you to come at a dark-skinned dude for dating a light-skinned chick, when that was down for him, not on some Kanye. Like, I could see if you did it on some Kanye shit, like you got rid of you dropped her ass for a light skin. I can see that. Okay, fine, because that speaks more to the point. But for you to come at him when he stuck with the person with him, I remember that song Memories. That verse when he said the girl was too cool for school and didn't want him because he ain't had no money and shit like that. You know, that's a bad feeling dudes be feeling, man. But she don't give a fuck about that. It's all about me, to the point where she can't see nothing else. She was filed for that shit. Because that's the first thing I'm gonna say. I'm like, bitch, you got a light skinned dude, but you sitting here talking shit to me. Why? Because I stuck with the person that helped me get to the dance, or that was with me. That's what we're talking about. We're not just trying to I'm not trying to just dismiss her because she with a dude. That's fine. He's black, whatever. You know, ain't no problem with it. I'm a light skinned dude, so I wish somebody would. If I had a woman advocating for dark skin, and she was dark. And I've dated women as dark as Rashidas. A couple. And I really like them. And they say some shit, I'd say, fuck out of here with that stupid shit. But at the same time, I would, if it was the same scenario that I just mentioned, I would say, I mean, do you understand how that can make you look stupid? Like, it ain't like the dude just, even to the extent that if he did. I mean, Tyrese would have been a better, hit for something like that. That's one thing about Derrick Jackson. For the most part, Derrick Jackson know when to try to jump. Like, you know, he ain't stupid like that. And that's another that goes to show you her lack of like awareness. And that goes again to show you how much she needs to grow. She's not like she hasn't gotten over her own shit. Like, this is a woman that has stated, I did not want to have a girl because I didn't want her to be dark. But you actually think you can lead other, just because you can empathize with somebody doesn't mean you can lead them out of that bullshit. A lot of black women are not as loyal to black men as they like to act like they are. You let them tell it, they'll act like they the most loyal person to ever exist on this planet. And we all know good goddamn well that's not fucking true. We know that's not true. They know that's not true. In fact, I can make a case that they're some of the most disloyal females on the planet. I could make a case that black women are some of the most disloyal. ADO's black women as a group can be some of the most, at least top 5 for the least disloyal women in history. And I know that sounds fucked up. I can make a case for that. They think because they birth black babies, they think because they birthing black babies that they got this, oh, they're loyal to black men. I'm like, you do that because you got a biological incentive to do that. If you didn't have a biological incentive to do that, the race would have been gone. So you don't get points for that shit. Black men don't necessarily have a biological incentive to appropriate with black women. And quite frankly, the society has always kind of allowed for black women to deal with white men to a certain extent. Because the society is not really threatened by that. Let me see. What the fuck? Okay. Now I'm doing something real quick. Like, seriously. I mean, y'all tell me where the lies are being told. I know that sounds harsh, but that's true. Outside of a mother-son relationship, that's the most realest loyalty you really see amongst black people. For real. And y'all know I'm right. Motherfuckers are talking about, you're bashing, you're being negative. You hate black women. You want to destroy black women. You want to harm black women. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Y'all sound like kids. This emotionality bullshit. Man, what the fuck? Anyway, I appreciate y'all hanging out. Be looking out for the blog that's coming out. Well, we're gonna bring together a group of like-minded dudes. Also, shout out to Thinking Man's Templar. You know, he was doing a thing on trucking, talking about how black men need to expand the conversation. He is absolutely right. So make sure you give him some support. And other than that, this is Edward signing off. Peace. No, they really not. Like, but I'd say that's where the most loyalty is. 757 is with the mother-son relationship. Outside of that, but even that you can question. Anyway, peace out.